Okay, so presumably you've downloaded IntelliJ and installed. Be careful. Don't download the Ultimate, download the Community. And you launched it. I launched it a bit ago. So here we have welcome to IntelliJ IDEA. So we're going to do new project and we want to do an Android. We want to do an Android project. So we'll go new project. And let's see, we'll just call it my project. Um, I'm going to put a location here. I'm just going to put it very creative, a directory called stuff. I'll create a subdirectory in stuff called my my project. All right. So there it is. See, it's on my local drive in this folder. I'm going to do OK. And let's see, what kind of a project do I want? I don't want a plain Java project. I want an Android project. So here I'm going to go more via plugins. And I'm going to go to manage plugins. And here you see I've got a marketplace. And you see there's lots and lots of plugins installed. Here's what I have. This is what came bundled. This was what was automatically installed. So what we want to do is we'll go back to the marketplace here and we'll just type in Android. And so here you can see there's a lot. What we're going to go with for now is just right here. Just Android. Supports the development of Android applications with IntelliJ IDE and Android Studio. So we'll go ahead and we'll install. And we're installing. Okay. And looks like we're all good. Now, it wants us to restart, so we'll say okay. We'll go ahead and restart. And I'll pause while we're restarting here. Okay, we're back. As you can see, we're restarted. So let's go, again, we'll go new project. And we're going to have to go ahead and do what we did before. I'll call it my project. My project. And here, but I made this directory already, so I'll reuse it. So here, this is where my project is going to live, IntelliJ. Now, notice here, I have a new project type. So let's go ahead and select Android. So the very first thing it wants to do is install and configure an Android SDK, an Android software development kit. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to select install SDK. So missing SDK, before continuing, you must download the necessary components. Okay, let's do that. So Android SDK, and it's going to get us Android API version 35, which at the time this video is made, this is the latest greatest. Now, notice here, I'm gonna take this default. You can also. This is a Windows machine, but notice that you can. You could change it if you want to. And the same is true if you were on a Mac or a Linux box. You can install it where you want. This is as good a place as any. So let's go ahead and go next. So here it tells us, do you want to review anything? Just tells us what's going to be installed. We're going to take all the defaults. Notice here the biggest thing is an Android emulator. So if you don't do your development with a real Android phone, this is something you can use. Now, the emulator is not as fast, and it's gotten hugely better over the years, but it's definitely not as good as a real Android phone. At any rate, here's what we have. I'm going to do next, and it's going to ask you to accept a bunch of licenses, disclaimers, and we do accept. I'll go ahead and do finish. And installing. It might take a few minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and pause while this is installing. Okay, notice if you notice the clock, it only took a couple minutes. Here's all the good stuff that got installed. It could take longer. Maybe it'll take less time. But here, Android SDK build tools, platform tools. I saw there's the emulator, various versions. So here's what we're looking for. Android SDK is up to date, so we'll go ahead and we'll finish. All right, so Android SDK is installed successfully. Now we'll go next. Okay, select a project template. Now, if you don't have Java installed on your system, it might ask you to install Java. I have Java installed, so it's not going to ask me. But here, when you go, so if it does ask you to go to install Java, please do go ahead and install it. So here, it's going to present you with a bunch of project templates, which are definitely very handy. These templates create some framework code for you to get you started, and you can see there's some good handy templates here. The one we're going to use most of the time is empty views in Android and in a lot of UI toolkits. A screen is called a view. So let's go ahead and take this empty views activity. We'll do next. Now, notice it defaulted to Kotlin as the language. We want Java name. I'm going to, my application, I'm just because I'm a noob like that, I'm going to go ahead and just call it my application, all one word. For package name, I'm going to give my own initials. Let's see, everything else looks okay. It's going to select a minimum SDK that your app will run on. That's API 24. If you recall, we just installed API 35, but it's backwards compatible up to 24. So there you go. We'll run on 97.4% of devices. You can leave this. There are some other choices, but go ahead and leave that. So we'll go ahead and we'll create. So now there's going to be some more installation activity. So I'll go ahead and pause again while these downloads happen. Well, we're done. So I guess I won't pause. All right, so we'll go ahead and create. Okay, here. Now, if you're on a Windows box, notice what comes up. Here, I want to allow ADB. That's the Android debug bridge, so I want to allow that. Also note over here, Microsoft Defender configuration. Microsoft Defender is trying to limit open ports and open networking. In this case, we're okay. We're going to ask it to automatically put in an exception. So we'll go ahead and go there. Here, just go ahead and click yes. All right. Now, notice, and see, here you go. So the Microsoft Defender, which defends your machine against alleged, potentially harmful network connections. um, has allowed our application. Now notice here I mentioned to you it might ask you for a JDK. Um, so here it's going to go ahead and ask you. Now I've got a bunch of JDKs installed, but I'll just go ahead and set up SDK. So here it sees the SDKs that I have on here. Um, let's just see what happens if we ask it to download JDK. So here, if it wants to go ahead and download Oracle OpenJDK version 22, here's where it's going to go ahead and download it. So let's go ahead and do that. So here we'll go ahead. Um, and it'll take a minute. I'll go ahead and pause while the JDK is getting configured. And here, actually, my network is working great tonight. I'm doing this, you can probably see, it's a little bit late in my net. It's a little bit late, so maybe everybody's everybody's in bed. So it looks like we're all good here. So let's go ahead and see what we can see. So here is some code that's been automatically created. We're not going to worry too much about this just yet. Notice here's the folder we're in. So here's the project, my application. Here's the folder that we're interested in. Let's look in here in source. Let's go here in main, Java, and remember I named it whoops. Oh, it's still setting up configuration. So remember, this is a brand spanking new install. So here, com.phc.myapplication, it's auto-created this file called main activity. When you go ahead and do your development, you probably want to give it, and main activity is not a bad name, but usually you want to give it something a little bit more descriptive. There's some code here we're not going to worry about too much. Notice here, though, resources. That's what this directory right here, res, resources. I'm going to go in here, I'm going to go into layout, and notice right here, I've got something called activity main.xml. So I'll go ahead and open that up, and let's see what we can see. So here, it wants, here is some user interface elements defined in XML. So I didn't have to write Java code to define these elements. And in this case, there's only one element. It's a text element, and all it says is hello world. Now notice, since this is a brand spanking new installation, plugin supporting Android. So here, you get something like this on your first run, go ahead and search for plugins. Yes, this is the one that we installed the Android tool, but now we want this Android design tools. And this gives us the tools. Well, you'll see momentarily what this does. This gives us the tools for viewing our user interface, our UI layout right here in IntelliJ. So I just installed this, so we want to restart to activate. So we'll go ahead. I'll pause for a second while it restarts. Okay, we're back, and here is what our new plugin allows. So here, it's an eye chart right now. You can't see it. It gives, here is a component surface, and here's what's called the blueprint surface. This is like a layout. I'm just going to look at the design surface. We'll make it a little bit bigger. And actually, Here, I know you can't see that, but here is my hello world. So let's change it to hello 2024. And here up in attributes, there's many attributes. So this is an object. This is a text view object, and it's got lots of attributes. So let's look at text size. And it's got 14, and an SP is a special kind of measure in Android that we'll learn about. For now, we can sort of roughly treat them as pixels. I'm going to make it even a little bit bigger than that. All right, so here we've got hello 2024, and I can switch back and forth. So I'm actually ready to run this. And notice here, here's my activity main. So what we're doing is we're looking actually at the rendering of this file, this XML file that we looked at earlier. So what do we want to do now? We want to see if we can run it. Now remember, we don't have a real Android device attached. So let's just see what happens. We'll go up here to the green button. Let's just see. Let's take a look. So I'm going to run app. And here, so it's here actually was an Android virtual device that I had installed with a previous version of IntelliJ. So let's go ahead. No device found, so let's go ahead and fix that. All right, so I'm going to pause momentarily. Okay, so I'm going to pause. I paused momentarily. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to Tools, Android, and here notice I've got an Android Software Development Kit Manager. I've got an Android Gradle Plugin Upgrade Assistant. We won't worry about those things too much for the moment. We'll get to them. But for now, let's take a look at this device manager. So here, these were devices that I had installed with a previous installation of IntelliJ. See, Pixel 5 API 30. Looks like I installed this one back in November 23. And here, because I have a fresh install and I wiped everything, the system images are gone. So when you're going to go ahead and do this, what you do is you do new virtual device. So you want a phone. You don't really want, like here, you don't want, you want to take, especially when you're using the emulated device, you don't want like a real fancy phone. So I'm going to take this medium phone here, 6.4 diagonal across. It's still pretty good, 1080 by 2400. I'll go do next. Okay, API 35. Here, we'll go ahead and do a Play Store load. Going forward, we probably won't use these, but we're going to take this recommended image. This one right here. So I'm downloading the image. I did put it on pause for a second. So here you can see it's gonna be a little while, 1.3 gigs. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause while this is downloading. Okay, we're all downloaded, completing requested actions. We'll go ahead and finish. All right, here we are back here. We'll go next. We'll give, I'll give it a name again, PHC 824, medium phone API 35. That'll be the name. So we'll finish it up. And there it is. So let's see if we can go ahead and start it. So see this arrow here is start. So notice here, starting AVD, that's Android Virtual Device. Now, depending on your machine, this can take some time. Here, I'm going to allow. It looks like it's running pretty well for me right here. But if it takes, and it's going to take a little while for it to come up. If it takes some time on your device, on your computer, don't worry. Sometimes it can take some time. And think about what we're doing here. Although it's a software emulator, it's a real, no fooling Android image. So it's a virtual, like a virtual machine. So it's a real, no fooling Android OS load that's going to run here inside IntelliJ. And we can actually launch this outside of IntelliJ as well. It's not an IntelliJ thing, it's an Android software development kit thing. So here, it's still booting, and it won't boot as quickly as a real phone. And you all know a real phone takes a little time to boot, so this will take a little longer. I'll pause while this boots. Okay, you can see I've got an Android phone here. It's not as snappy as a real Android phone, but it's, well, got settings. You can see it takes a bit of time to run. But there's all of our usual stuff. There's a software version of the back button. So here is our Android phone. And again, I recommend you use a real Android device, but these can be handy. And that really didn't take that long to load. All right. So now what do we want to do? We want to run our app. So let's go ahead and remember, this is a brand new install. So sometimes there's issues, but let's see how we do. So I'm going to go ahead and run. So notice here it says Gradle build running. Gradle is the build tool that Android uses, and there might be some incompatibilities. Gradle can be pretty picky about about versions and which JDKs, which JVMs are used. But let's let this Gradle build run, and we'll come back. This I've seen this take 2 or 3 minutes sometimes. So let's go ahead and I'll pause while this Gradle build is running. So we're back. And notice install successfully finished. It took a lot more than 9 seconds, but it didn't take too bad. Here, Gradle build finished in 1 minute, 22 seconds. So it was pretty quick, but there we are. We've run our app again on this software emulator. So a couple things. Notice this Java code here was auto-generated. We for now, we don't care too much about what this says. We'll get back to it. What we were most interested in was this right here, activity main.xml. And this is how, and this will be what we do to get started. We'll look at how to drag and drop components right onto this design surface, as well as uh, as as well as actually adding our own XML code. All right, so the video is getting a little long. Probably best to leave it right there. But there is a quick overview of how to get started and how to write your first Android app. Enjoy and have fun.